And in the past, that's proven to be kind of probably one of the most effective ways to reduce numbers at the border. We saw that during the Biden administration as well, when Anthony Blinken went to Mexico City, and then there was a deployment of Mexican troops and National Guardsmen on their southern border, and it led to kind of at least a temporary reduction. So in that regard, I think kind of the pressure that the Mexican government's facing from Trump as a result of tariffs, and also, kind of the fentanyl issue that is kind of Trump is hanging over their heads most of the time, is kind of been very effective in kind of pressuring them to stop those people long before they ever get to the U.S.
We're also seeing the administration offering $1,000 for migrants to self-deport back to their home countries. And the administration says, when they do the calculation, that it's far cheaper for migrants to take this option, that they would buy them a plane ticket and give them the stipend essentially of $1,000. And their calculation is that it costs about $17,000 for ICE agents to apprehend someone, and then to the process that leads to their deportation. So it just gives you a sense of the policies as they're working here in the U.S., what the administration's perspective is.
I wonder, though, how many people will actually sign up for that, because, we don't have any firm details of how that will operate. I saw something about how you would have to pay for the ticket yourself and then claim the money back. A, will you ever see that money? And B, if you declare that you are here illegally, undocumented, without paperwork, and that you're going to leave, do they let you leave like that of your own volition, or are you rounded up to become another statistic? Or if you say, this is my address, that they make a guesstimation that perhaps there are other people there who aren't self-deporting. I think I'd be really interested to see if they make figures available on how many people actually sign up for that.
I actually find it quite telling, because at the White House a couple of times, Tom Homan, the border czar, has been there, and I've asked him how many people. Now there's an app called CBP Home, which is essentially used to you could use it to self-deport. It was previously used for asylum claims, and they rebranded it. I've asked them a couple times how many people have actually registered using this app, and there's been no firm answer. And more recently, I was looking at some Mexican government figures of the number of Mexican citizens who have
through the hill as part of President Trump's big, beautiful tax bill that he's trying to get passed.
Yeah, it is really interesting to see that. As we talk about what the administration sees as its big success, it is also very much banking on this big, beautiful tax bill to see through much of President Trump's agenda as well. It's at the moment around $4.5 trillion in tax breaks and $1.5 trillion in spending cuts. The problem is that within the Republican caucus itself, in the House of Representatives and in the Senate, there is not agreement on many of the points of this bill. So what it would do, or what President Trump wants to do, obviously, is extend the tax.
if even some of them kind of oppose this, it becomes very challenging for Mike Johnson to kind of whip up the necessary support among the Republican base, and I think that's going to be the challenge going forward. But also, I think it's difficult for Donald Trump.
opposition to the pharmaceutical companies and big agricultural kind of companies as well, saying that they are responsible for chronic disease that we see in this country. But interestingly, when he was asked about this at the White House, Donald Trump was asked about nominating Dr. Means, and he said, well, I did it because I got a recommendation from Bobby Kennedy. Bobby told me she was good. And that just underlines your point, Katrina, that he does seem to have a lot of influence.
And the person who he is no longer putting forward for Surgeon General, Jeanette Nashwaiwat, is Mike Wall's sister-in-law. So we know Mike Wall's not in favour anymore, out the door. Kind of interesting. A week later, his sister-in-law is also removed from her post, or potential post.
Yeah.
And I think the kind of fascinating part about that is, when Waltz left, we discussed the potential influence that Laura Loomer, the far-right activist, I guess one could call her, had on Waltz's departure. And now she's very explicitly claiming credit for what happened with the Surgeon General position and Dr. Nashwaiwat stepping away. She's claimed it in her own words as a scalp. And we keep hearing kind of whispers of how much influence she might have and what people's concerns about that. But it is really interesting. She's both claiming to have got rid of Waltz and the Surgeon General. Trump hasn't spoken about it, and we of course don't know any firm details. But Trump certainly in the past has respected Laura Loomer's opinion and has said as much.
It'll be great to read all the books that come after this administration, as happened at the end of the first Trump administration, and you learn so much about those power and influence games that go on behind the scenes, or in front of the scenes sometimes as well. But we are, I think, at time for today. So much more to talk about, as always.
Well, great to see you guys again.
See you guys soon.
Bye.
And you can catch up with all of the episodes of The President's Path on BBC iPlayer if you're in the UK,